Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
PD Beats here from Popternative, speaking to Mark Critch and Malcolm McDowell about Season 2 of Son of a Critch, premiering on January 3rd on CBC and CBC Gem. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Mark, it's good to see you again. We talked last year. I'm curious, what is the mindset about kind of Season 2 specifically? Is it kind of just continuing the story, or are you focused on the growth of a lot of these characters?
Well, yeah. First year, you're setting the foundation, and this year we're expanding their world a little bit. We know the characters now, so we get to see them grow. The show's all about growth, and even with Pop, you're never too old to grow. So Mark realizes that the world he thought was his new world, perfect world with friends and everything he met in Season 1, kind of falls apart right away for him. And he needs to learn how to expand his world while holding on to his new friendships he's found. And I think all of our characters go on a bit of a journey this year.
It's interesting you say that, because Malcolm, I find, you look at a lot of the body of work you've worked in, you have worked like on all the genres specifically, but you look at the conversations between Mark and Pop in the bedrooms, and that's like my favorite thing. I mean, Pop is like very like outspoken, doesn't kind of sugarcoat things and everything, but he is giving Mark a lot of kind of lessons and advice, even though we laugh and we're like, haha, oh, that's over the top. And it's like, there's substance to it. What is that like, being kind of the voice of reason in a show specifically like Son of a Critch?
Well, it's just beautifully couched, in humor. And I think that the most important thing is that Pop is, of course, irascible and sort of a bit of a curmudgeon and a quirky kind of character, he's I love playing him. He's just so much fun. And I love the scenes, particularly with young Mark, of course. I love more, really, but because he's a sort of Obi-Wan Kenobi for him in a way. Not that the advice he's giving is really good advice, but it's Pop's kind of homespun philosophy, and it's so much fun to do that. And Benjamin is such a wonderful young actor. Really, it's really a treat to work with him. You get so much truth back from him. Yeah, he's a real delight, And of course, everybody loves him.
It's amazing, and I can't wait. Season 2. With those are my favorite scenes, Mark. I'll be honest with you, the Pop young Mark scenes, like those kind of stand out to me. Do those kind of stand out as well? Yeah, I love those. Those are my favorite scenes, Mark. Is it cool kind of to see those, because it's based on your life, right? Seeing that kind of on screen. What is that like, seeing that?
Well, with Pop's kind of a mixture of older folks that I knew growing up who were a big influence on me. He's kind of like a dad's cousin. Yeah, older was like a grandfather to me, kind of. So that's who he is. But seeing bits of your life every now and then. We're filming, and something will happen, and because you have actor mind, and then you have writer mind and producer mind, and actor mind. Sometimes I'll be in a scene, I'll go, this reminds me of something that happened to me. And then I'll think, what, you idiot. This is the thing that happened to you. Or it's very strange. Like sometimes you'll see if I'm on the playground at the school, and I'll see a bunch of the kids go by in their uniforms. And that's very much like being in a memory. And some of the furniture in the house is even from my parents' home. So peripheral vision in the house can be quite interesting. It's like walking through a memory, and sometimes.
Oh, 100%. Malcolm, I feel like the main kind of takeaway when I watch Son of a Critch is we're seeing Mark grow. We're seeing him go through obstacles. We're seeing him learn things that he could take down the road. That is like the big takeaway. And although it's a sitcom and it's family and it's heartfelt, there is, I feel like, those serious undertones, because he is kind of going through life. He is kind of dealing with a lot of things. He's learning about a lot of issues. Right. For you as an actor and a storyteller, did you always look at comedy with the serious undertone lens a little bit as well? Or did you think it kind of just happens?
Well, look, it has to be on the page.
Yeah.
So kudos, of course, to Mark, particularly, and all our writers. We've got some wonderful writers on the show. and that's important. Yes, some of the subjects we cover are important, sensitive subjects, and I think that we, tackle them with a lot of humor. It's not a belly laugh kind of show with laugh track and all that, but it's a smile, and it's people feel very warm towards it, and I love that about the show. So yes, I think, of course, we're there to entertain, and we're there to make people smile and laugh, But what's wonderful is that we can tackle these more serious subjects in a light way.
Yeah. And Mark, I feel like it's interesting because during the pandemic, we were doing a lot of self-reflection, figuring things out, because frankly, we had the time to do so. Young Mark is doing a lot of figuring out self-reflection. He's got his family to help him. I'm curious if you thought about that specifically with the TV adaptation of Son of a Critch, Mark, where like it's going to become even more relatable because everyone's been doing as much, like the most soul searching they've ever done in the last 3 years because of the pandemic. Do you think about those things at all?
Well, I think it was kind of created in a time of self-reflection, and I had I'd written the book, but when writing the scripts, it was not so much adapting the book, but it was telling those stories in a different way, like telling my story in a whole different format. So it was like starting over. And yeah, you had to, well, one thing you have to look at, like, who were the important people in your life? What were the touchstones? What made you who you are in many ways, good and bad. And so, yeah, for me, it was a lot of looking inward. And people told me that was a good pandemic show because it's nostalgic. Kind of, a lot of people say it kind of feels like a hug or something. You get a lot of sweetness out of it too.
Yes, warm hug, absolutely.
Yeah, it came along at the right time, I think, for a lot of families.
It did. You bring up the nostalgia, Malcolm. I find that interesting as well. What is that mindset of kind of going back in time for a TV show, specifically with Son of a Critch? I always find that interesting. Like when you're kind of going back and behind, is it aesthetic? Is it how they talk? Is it a little bit of both?
Well, I think it's a part of everything, but mainly the way it looks and using stuff from the period, I mean, we don't talk much differently. Maybe Pop does because he's used half the time, but he doesn't know whether he's from Yorkshire or Ireland, or from Newfoundland or whatever. But no, I think that I mean, I don't know. What do you think, Mark?
Well, I think the look of it, getting the clothing and the vehicles and all that because once you have that world, it's so real. It's very easy for us as actors then to, not easy, but it's very helpful to put you in that. A lot of actors will say it's the shoes that make them finally feel like the character in a stage play or something.
It's never been that with me. I think I've never heard such a load of old cobblers as that.
It's a lot of people say that kind of stuff, but like you get grounded in your character, and then that world is so real around you that it really helps it, especially for the viewer.
Yeah, aesthetic. For sure, aesthetic is definitely the one that comes to mind as well. I feel like also, you wrote the book, it's the TV show. We talked about this a little bit for season 1 with Tim, Mark, but like, did the selection process of what's going to be focused on the show, like did it feel a little easier for season 2 after you did a season 1, or do those have nothing to do with each other? Because like you're starting out, like you said at the beginning of the interview, for season 1, but like what was that kind of selection and like talking to the writers about what's going to be in season 2 like selection wise?
Well, I had it all kind of mapped out what I want to go. Coming back, I want to kind of blow up that world because it's very, that's the way life is when you're a kid. You're in love with somebody for a couple of months passionately, and then you may never see them again. And you have best friends when you're in grade 8 and best friends when you're in grade 9, and then you might never see these people again. But so it's all about change, and this whole thing is he finally thought he had it settled, and then whoa, the world changes. There's a lot of different changes in the characters that happen, such as there's a big change for Sister Margaret that actually happened to a nun who I went to school with. So there's a lot of truth in it.
Yeah,
and then there's various episodes. So there's bits from my life, Like my mom went through a police barricade to try and get me blessed by the Pope when I was a kid because I was so sickly. And that's I'm like, okay, well, that's an interesting story from my life. That's got to go in there. So you plot out some moments from your own life you want to tell, but then you need to have an arc for each character as well. So it's a mix of discovery, I think, while you're doing it. But if you don't know where you're going when you start out, I think it could become a real big mess pretty quickly. So we knew where we wanted to go, and then it's coloring that and making sure everybody has some interesting life experiences. Like one big thing that's interesting. Well, Malcolm last year, he said to me, "They're always fighting, Mike Senior and Pop. This relationship is too mean. We had to have some honest moments between them. We have to see some love there." And so there's an episode where a character dies, and that makes Pop realize, okay, hang on, I need to work on my relationship with my son.
Yeah.
And they have probably their first honest discussion ever out on the Atlantic Ocean in a boat, cod jigging, when it's just the two of them, where they think, well, maybe this is the end for us. And they open up, and we start to see that. And then later on, there's an episode set in a retirement home where Pop has a very real moment with his son when he realizes, that he has got it pretty good in that house. And so, so all that stuff came from a conversation with Malcolm, right?
Yeah,
the other
awesome.
thing is listening to the people you work with.
That's amazing. Malcolm, this is a big question. It's kind of a tough question. So I hope it comes off like it makes sense, but I just want to, this is based on someone's life. This is based on the books by Mark and everything. Is there like pressure or is there pressure about like adapting something that was based on things that happened like as an actor? Or not really? Do you don't really think about that? I know it's a big.
Honestly, there's no pressure at all, because I'm not playing someone who really existed. I'm playing an amalgam of people, and a lot of it in Mark's imagination and in mine, because I come with a mindset, so I don't have to follow a certain set of rules with this character, which is one of the wonderful things about it, actually.
Yeah.
And but of course, I certainly respect what Mark's memories are of his family and school and what he did, and and that, from that point of view, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
To be part of that, But really, is there pressure? No, just pure joy of really getting on there and starting. And I'll tell you, it was different, I think, from the actor's point of view, and I'm speaking now for them all, but that I think that we really relished going back. And we had this, of course, this common kind of, that we'd been around each other before. And so there was a common sort of sense of camaraderie, and
yes,
a sense of company and family and the whole thing. And that's very important. And, Mark and our producers and Tim and the various others, Andrew and all of them, actually, they're very, very good at helping the kids and us, the grown-ups, to come together as a family. And that's very important. And they're really smart about that, actually. We're always included in dinners or barbecues or whatever it is with the kids, and the football, and there's a whole lot of family stuff, and it really helps, especially kids, I would imagine.
Yes.
But even me, I love it that I'm with them, in the pub yelling for Liverpool, and we're on the set yelling for Liverpool again. So whatever it is, I think it's really important. And Mark, you've managed to foster that kind of atmosphere, and it's really fantastic.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, it is great. And there is this like palpable energy with Son of a Critch too, where everyone's super like into things sometimes, which I really love. And season 2 is going to be premiering January 3rd on CBC, available on CBC Gem as well. Gentlemen, honor and privilege speaking with you. Thank you so much for your time.
Great pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Great talking to you again.
Great talking to you again. This has been Pop Alternative. YouTube.com/PopTurn for previous episodes. Until next time, this is Malcolm McDowell and Mark Critch and Petey Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.